Alright folks, welcome. We are here in round 2 of Hyperdrive Division 1, and today we are racing Saudi Arabia, a track that, honestly, I don't mind the track. I kind of like driving the track, but in terms of playing the game competitively on it, not one of my favorites. My least favorite type of track in the game are tracks that are very easy to follow on, and this definitely falls into that category. It is not a lot of sections where you can break that 1 second barrier of the DRS, and it's very hard to get someone off the back of you. Very easy to keep up with the car ahead, and when you're stuck in a long DRS train, which we more than likely will in a league with such stacked talent as this one, it can be very difficult to move up the field. But nonetheless, we are here going into qualifying. I was feeling pretty good in my practice. It's still early on in this year's game, and this league race was done before the new driving patch, so please keep that in mind. And yeah, I didn't know what to expect going this one, so sticking to the same mentality I had in the last one, where I'm just gonna do my best here, go as quick as I can go, and we'll see where that places me in the field. Got to make sure our stick works there as we pull all the pits here in Q1. And again, something that I always want to emphasize all season long here is that even though it's full qualifying, and I actually had my settings correct this time so I could record it all, is that we take things one session at a time. Don't take any sessions for granted, because as soon as you get too comfortable, that's when it's really going to bite you in the butt. So yeah, here, like I said, one session at a time, we're looking to just get out of Q1 regardless of how many sets of tires it takes. And I'm really hoping to do what I did not do at Bahrain, and that's really nail a qualifying lap. I left myself with way more work to do than I should have in the race. And yeah, it was frustrating because I got caught up in an incident on lap 1. I mean, I didn't get involved in the incident damage-wise, but I was slowed down by it and lost positions because of it, which is inconvenient. We can't control that, but what I can control is nailing my qualifying lap, so I'm in front of the incident if it does happen today. And now, starting with our Q1 lap, very important that we get a nice solid lap in. While I am taking things one session at a time, I would still love to use the least amount of tires as possible to give myself those extra tires in the later qualifying sessions, which just allow you to do more runs. And so far, nice and tidy throughout the lap. Definitely don't want to invalidate here or hit a wall. I know that's very obvious, but that's something you're always conscious of when you're making these quick laps. One mistake can and will just be the end of your session, not just in terms of crashing out or invalidating the lap, but even in a league like this, just not being on it across the whole lap. Like, you really do got to be on it. And that's why I said taking no qualifying sessions for granted here. Got to work for our food, so to say, in every single one of them.
Good
And
job,
yeah, we're
Phoebe.
hoping to not do, like I said, in Bahrain, mess up our qualifying and just leave ourselves with
got a mouse.
unnecessary work to do. And yeah, nice and solid Q1 lap so far. Nothing really to write home about, but it is pretty close to our potential, or at least close enough. And hopefully, as we round the last corner and not get the power down too hard and spin out, we'll come across the line here and hopefully have a lap that is good enough to at least get us out of Q1. 128.2. I was hoping to do a 28.0 or a high 27 in qualifying, so to only be a couple tenths off of that in Q1 is not bad. But we'll head back to the pits, and as the session progresses and we see what times other drivers are doing, we'll see if we need to head back out or if we're good to make it to Q2. And as time ran down on the session, I decided, hey, I think my lap is good enough. We're not in a great position by any means, but like I said, we're only taking things one session at a time. I don't care if I'm 15th or 1st. All that I care about is that we move on to Q2. And you can see when I retire, I was in 8th. But we got some cars that have invalidated laps. Some cars that don't have time to get fresh tires and are already out. And yeah, we'll be able to make it through Q1 here. But as you can see, the times are pretty tight, with the exception of Kieran in first, who put in a banger lap here in Q1. Yeah, 4/10 separate tenth of a second. So yeah, tight field throughout, much tighter than my Road to Masters races if you've seen them. And yeah, that was the end of Q1. Now heading into Q2. Sessions are only going to get harder as we move on. We ended Q1 in P10, so I need to make sure here that I put in a better lap than I did in Q1 if I want a chance to advance to Q3, which I know I have the ability to do, but it's all about putting it together when it counts, and that's right here now. And into that corner, I turned in just a fraction too early, clipped the wall, and I just immediately decide to back out of the lap, go into the pits, and then decide whether to come out on a new set of tires or make another run on these. I did decide to just come out pretty much immediately on the same set of tires because I will still have time to do another run on a fresh set of tires if necessary. I just didn't see a reason if I knew I was going to use a fresh set to sit in the pits to the end. Might as well do a lap on these tires. I only really did an out lap in a couple corners, so yeah, they shouldn't be too bad. Won't be optimal, but might as well put in the lap if you got the time, because I'm confident I won't at least crash out. And yes, much tidier so far through the first sector. Don't want to invalidate coming over that curb as it comes into the middle of the track. Very easy to do so. And now what I like to call here the NASCAR corner, a nice long left-hander that's banked. Us Americans really like those kinds of corners, to say the least. And yeah, just doing what I need to do, really hoping to advance to Q3, keeping things nice and clean. Very easy to wheel spin coming up over that curb or go out too wide and touch that outside wall. That is a deceivingly tricky corner, as a lot of these corners are, because you're not really braking completely in a straight line, and you want to carry as much speed as possible, but not that much speed, because as you can see there, I just barely was over, and it's just the smallest of fractions that will get you in a league like this, where you absolutely have to push to the limit on every lap if you even want to have a chance to compete. And yeah, just again having the same issue currently that I had in Bahrain, just not putting together a clean lap, and I'm gonna have to get my act together here and put one in, or else we're not even gonna make it to Q3. Now you can see in the bottom left corner, time is ticking down. We are out again on a fresh set of tires. I want to do a lap now so I have extra fuel to give it one more run. And I also don't want to complete my final lap as time expires. And yeah, I made a mistake here. I realized I did not put my car on the hot lap. So I will not have fuel for another run now because I need to use that extra lap of fuel right here and now to make a second out lap. A dumb mistake by me to not have my hot lap on. I mean, this is, I am new to league racing with, not in general, but with, you know, rocking doing manual gears and all that, and working the MFD on a pad at the same time. And yeah, it was a dumb mistake. I didn't have it on hot lap, and now I lost my opportunity to do an extra run, which in hindsight, I shouldn't even have fueled for an extra run, because you use so much ERS in this game if you do one full hot lap that you're not going to be able to do another, like you're not going to be able to do 2 hot laps right in a row. So yeah, that's a part of league racing early in a new F1 game. You learn these things as you go along strategically, so now I know no need to fuel for multiple flying laps if you use so much ERS in one lap that you're not going to have any for the next one. And speaking of the next lap, this next lap is going to be very important because it is going to be set a good lap here, or we're going to be going out in Q2. And yeah, like I was going to say, I don't like to finish a lap as time has expired, because if you do that, the AI driver finishes your in lap for you, and those tires would be extremely worn. And I guess it doesn't matter too much because these tires won't be used in the race. But if you're running low on tire sets, that can become an issue. Got to get every small advantage as you can get. And so far, we're having a much better start to this lap. I need to put in my best lap so far in the qualifying session. What I did in Q1 would not be good enough. So we are going to be absolutely pushing here through Sector 1, but making sure that we don't make any dumb mistakes. My teammate just set the fastest lap of the session of a 27.6. And yeah, I didn't even really look at that while I was driving. I'm just so zoned in that absolutely nothing is taking my attention away right now. I can't afford any mistakes here. I'm coming in. This is a tricky braking zone. tricky to get onto the throttle as well. We do a good job of it, just avoid the wall, really maximizing the track width there. And now we have a long wait for our next corner. Kind of takes you out of your rhythm, all of these long straights right to braking zone. And yet we go out wide a little bit there. It didn't seem like much of a miss, but I did miss a couple tenths of a second right there, and that could be vital. But we just got one more braking point to go. The last lap, well, yeah, the rest of the lap was clean, so we will see as we cross the line if it will be decent enough to make it to Q3. And as we hold R2 really hard to come down to cross the line, and yeah, it is only P10, and as soon as I did that, I knew that we were in some deep trouble, because a lot of other drivers are still to yet do their lap. And if you ever see me cutting the track on the in lap or out lap, we do understand that that is allowed in this league. You just do so at your own risk of invalidating your next lap as well when you're on the out lap, and as long as you stay out of people's way, we don't care what you do on the track on the in lap or out lap. And yeah, and as I am finishing my out lap, you can see in the top left we just went from P10 to P11, so yeah, it's really disappointing. We will be out in Q2. So moving on to the race now, it is going to be the same strategy that we did in Bahrain, and we're going to be doing it for the same reason that we did in Bahrain. So if you missed why I do mediums and softs instead of softs mediums, you're just going to have to tune in to that video and catch that one out, because I don't want to spend 2 minutes reiterating the same exact points. But if you're lazy, you want the gist of it, better to start on the harder tire in the beginning sometimes, because if there's early safety cars, that brings the pack together when they should be pulling away from you on the softs, and vice versa. It's bad if you need to be pulling away on the softs and a safety car brings you back together. Since safety cars are more likely in the beginning of the race, I'm just going to start on the mediums. So as the 5 lights are going to come on, hopefully we get a much better start this time and don't get caught up in a turn 1 incident. It is a decent launch off the line. We get a launch that keeps up with Robbie on the softs and the Mercedes in front of us. We're going to be nice and gentle here on the inside, leave plenty of room on the outside. Swoop around the outside. The wider route allows us to get to the throttle more smooth. And yet didn't lose any positions off the start, even with soft tire runners around us. The Williams there goes wide so that we pick up 1 extra position. And yeah, starting on medium tires and gaining positions here on the first lap, couldn't wish for a better start. And as you can see, we are quickly all just kind of filing into a line here. And I knew that this was kind of going to be a slipstream fest. And like I said right at the beginning of the video, that actually makes things more difficult to overtake, because the car you're trying to overtake is getting slipstream on the car in front. So yeah, that's why track position, even on tracks that are easy to overtake on, is still very important when you're in a multi-tier league, and so the division you're in is going to be more evenly matched. But hey, we're not thinking about that right now. We're just thinking about putting together the best race that we can, just like we did in Bahrain, and I'm confident that we'll be able to move up through the field as the laps progress. Coming down the front stretch at the end of the first lap, that is Troye in front of us in the Mercedes. He's on the softs, so as long as he doesn't hold us up too much, just keeping up with him is going to be good for us, since we're on the mediums. And you can see 2 cars got into each other there, so that is 2 more free positions for us. You hate to see it because you feel for them having that incident, but at the same time you love to see it as a competitor, because I know I need to make up positions in this race. If I even want to have any bit of a decent championship run, I got to be getting consistent good points. And yeah, being able to get 2 free positions like that early on isn't something I'm going to complain about any day of the week, especially on Sunday, because that's the day we race on. We are now on lap 4. DRS has been activated. I'm still just keeping with Troye here. I've used basically no ERS. He doesn't get the best run out of that corner, even though he has DRS barely on the car ahead. We're going to take this opportunity to go by, and I'm going to use some extra ERS here on the front stretch to make sure that I secure this position, because I could tell that it seemed like he might have been struggling a little bit of the softs, or we just have baller pace on these mediums. So I was like I said, I was willing to just, chill out behind a soft runner and let him kind of pull me along in this race. But hey, I saw an easy opportunity for an easy overtake, so we're going to take that every day of the week. Because judging from the first couple laps, it seemed like that I had a little bit better race pace than the cars in front. And this is kind of a trend that I've kind of always have had in F1 League racing, is that I've always been more of a race pace guy than a raw one lap pace. I mean, I always set up the car focusing on race. I always focus heavily on my race strategy and getting used to driving the car with heavy fuel load. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm just more of a race pace guy, but I still like to think that doesn't mean I suck on one lap pace. But hey, so far in this year's game, I have sucked in qualifying, and I know that that's something that I need to be working on, and it's something I will be working on as the weeks progress here. I do not want to have 3 qualifying sessions in a row that I just absolutely butcher. And yeah, now on lap 5, I barely am in the DRS of the car ahead, which is great because this is just going to pull me right up to them slowly but surely. We get DRS once again down this long backstretch, and then we'll get on the front stretch as you, and this is as well, sorry, and this just makes things even easier for me because not only does this help me move up through the field, but I can also do so while using way less ERS than I normally would. I did use a decent amount of ERS there, getting on the throttle, because I wanted to make sure I get close enough to this Alpine that I can make the overtake happen easily next lap. And you guys didn't see that at all. That was me turning in way too early there. Lucky that the game didn't just outright give me a penalty. But yeah, now that we are right up his tail, we should be able to make an overtake on this lap, no problem at all. And moving forward, still in lap 6, we are heading down the back stretch now. We got very close to him before the last chicane, a little bit too close actually, and I didn't get the best run, so I'm not going to be able to make the pass down the back stretch, but I am definitely close enough to be able to make an easy overtake on the front stretch. I'm going to use a little bit of ERS here just to make sure that I secure the position and we're not wasting time fighting. And yeah, he actually dips into the pits there. I thought that was pretty early for a pit stop, but hey, I wasn't questioning it. I wasn't concerning myself with it right now. Don't have to lose time battling him, and that's another position for us. You see caution flag waving there. I believe that was a incident that had happened in turn 1 behind us. It was kind of sad that it wasn't more free positions ahead of us, but yeah, it's probably just me getting a little too greedy. And yeah, at this point of the race, we are now on lap 8. We're kind of in our own little bubble where we are a couple seconds behind of the group in front, but we have a couple second gap to the group behind us. So just got to hammer in some nice consistent laps here and run our own race like I always preach. And as we are coming through the nice long banky boy on lap 9, we have ourselves a virtual safety car. And this is where I immediately discovered an issue. I don't know if this is an issue with the game or just the way that I have my heads-up display settings, but I do not have a visible delta, which is very inconvenient for obvious reasons. As you can see, the Alpine behind isn't too far, or is that a Williams behind me? I'm not sure. But the car behind me is not that far off behind me. So I can't be too slow on my delta, but obviously I don't want to be too quick because I don't want to get a drive-through. So this was creating a really tricky situation for me, and it's something I had to deal with this entire race, whether there was a full safety car or a virtual safety car. So yeah, I just kind of have to early on in the virtual safety car kind of play with the limit. When the game tells me to slow down a little bit, and just kind of use my experience to just kind of feel for where I should be in the delta, which is really tricky. And with the virtual safety car ending and a braking zone coming up, I really probably slowed down more than I needed to. But hey, I'd rather lose a second under a VSC restart than lose the whole race by having to pit. So yeah, I haven't had time to look into it during this busy work week, but yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that, whether that was a game issue or it's just something on the heads-up display that I don't have turned on that I should. I thought I had delta on, but hey, gonna have to take a second look at it because not having a visible delta, it sucks ass to say the least. And yeah, a lot of nothing happened in this part of the race. The car behind is in our slipstream at this point, so we were thinking about using some ERS, and right as we passed the pits, a safety car is deployed, and I got really upset in this moment because this is something that happened to me many times in last year's game, where a safety car would come out right as I'm passing the pits, and then the safety car would not let me pass, just completely ruining my race.
Safety car let me
Whew,
through. Safety
but
car let me
luckily,
through.
the safety car is allowing us through, and our race is not ruined at no fault of our own right then and there. I was having mad flashbacks to many races that had happened to me in F1 2021 where something just like that happened and just robbed us of podiums and in a few cases wins as well. But the inconvenient part about this is that we could have been on the softs this whole time and then now have gone the mediums. But we started on the mediums. Safety cars come out in an uncomfortable time where the softs will not make it to the end. But I'm too far into the stint to just not pit and then have to pit under green a couple laps later, or a few laps later. I think I was planning on pitting, if I remember correctly, around lap 16 or 17. So yeah, we're gonna have to take this opportunity because we gotta use 2 tire compounds. We're gonna have to go to the hards, but luckily most of the field around us is in the same boat. And after pitting and getting all purples in our immersive pit stop because we're a boss, we are following the safety car, and that is Kieran. He was the race leader, and he has spun out under safety car, and that gives us a free position. We were in 5th coming out of the pits. Now we are in 4th, on some fresh tires. We started 12th, we are up to 4th, we don't have to pit again. Things are looking pretty good for us, especially when you consider the fact that I didn't put together any good laps in qualifying and was eliminated in Q2. And now here we are, fighting for potentially a podium in this race where I had no business to do so early on. And the lap 15, safety car is due to come in, but the lead car had disconnected and is ghosted, so it's going to be an awkward restart here. We need to make sure that we don't get a penalty for overtaking the ghost car too early. We come across the line, we're going to be able to get by him just fine. I have a little bit of gap to the car behind. The Red Bull locks up and misses the corner, and just like that, we were running, barely in the points earlier, and now here we are in 2nd place, about to fight for the lead of this race. Absolutely incredible. We have the reserve driver, I think his name was Bradders or Braders, how do you say it, in front of us. And yeah, what a turnaround of a day we are having from the lows of qualifying to now being able to fight for this win. And I really do think that I got the pace to be able to take this from him right now. I feel comfortable in the hard tire. And I'm going to have a little look here. I get a much better run. I can tell that he's not quite comfortable in this tire yet. I don't know if he didn't fire up the temperature he needed to, or he's just afraid to play on the limit when it is so easy to spin the car out. In the version of the game, the first, this was pre-patch, remember, I should say. And yeah, now we are right up his butt. We are going to have an opportunity here coming out of this corner. I am going to spend the juice because I want to take the lead of this race. I want to get aggressive here. And as we are coming around the backstretch, he's going to be able to have the inside. But a yellow comes out and he just brake checks us. And as you can tell, I'm very angry about this. He had absolutely no reason to immediately slow down on the middle of the fastest part of the track and one of the fastest parts of the F1 calendar. And he just slows down and moves right directly into the line of our car. And it's just ridiculous. And I was so angry when this happened because, oh man, imagine if he doesn't do that and he pits, then we're leading the race with a tire that seems like we're quicker on than most of the field, and with no damage, but now I have to contend with a dark yellow wing for the rest of this race. And yeah, honestly, even I feel like it's more frustrating watching it back than it was playing in the moment, because in the moment I was just happy to be this far up the field after the qualifying I had. But watching it back and just knowing that if I wasn't given damage right there, that this was basically the race won right here, that's just really frustrating to think about. But now we have a whole different ball game where we're going to have damage. Maybe only 7 or 6 laps of green flag running when the safety car will come in. And yeah, we just got to try to hold off the field as best as possible, and I'm really hoping to still be able to come with a podium even with this damage. And we lead the safety car restart. I want to make it seem like I'm warming up my tires. And then I have a bunch of tricks up my sleeve for safety car restarts, all legal of course. And that's one of my tricks I like to do is I will show that, hey, I'm swerving, warming up my tires, so they anticipate that when I stop swerving, that's when I'm launching. But I wait about half to 3/4 of a second after being straight to launch, because they'll react to me being straight, ease onto the throttle more, and then have to let off because they realize I'm not going. So when I launch, it's at that point where they're letting off the throttle, which just helps build that gap, just that little bit extra amount, so I don't get overtaken going to the first corner. And as you can see, once again, the move worked like a charm. And I don't even care about showing that in a video because I got more than one trick up my sleeve. All legal, of course, for mixing up the timing of my safety car launches. It is something that I have practiced because, yeah, last thing I want to do is get overtaken before I even get to a corner when I'm leading a safety car restart. And yeah, as you can see behind, there was contact. The cars are battling so hard behind, and at first I was thinking, hey, I might be able to hold this, but we do have Kieran coming up behind through the field on the soft tire, so he'll probably be next to impossible to hold off. But I'm really hoping to just build as much of a gap as possible, hold the second place up, whoever it will be, for as long as possible, just to give myself the best chance possible to hold on to this podium finish. And as the laps have progressed, we're now on lap 21. Kieran has made his way up through the field. He's on fresh, soft tires. He's going to be able to get us for no problem. As heartbreaking as it is when you're leading a race late in the race like this, we know that he is not our race. So he's going to get by us. It's just a matter of when. And I'm hoping that I can get DRS once or twice off of him afterwards to just help keep me away from the cars behind him for as long as possible. So that's why I'm also using battery here to try to stay ahead. Even one straight longer I can stay ahead will just help me so much more in holding my positions here late in the race. And I'm even using some overtake here, even though I know he's going to overtake me, just to make sure that I'm not too far away from him coming through this final corner, so I can get a really good run, not just get the DRS, but also get some solid slipstream as well. I know he's going to be using a lot of battery. He's going to break away from me. But yeah, I didn't want him to break away from me too much that I don't get a good slipstream at all, at least for one straightaway. I know I'm not going to be able to hold in his DRS for long, if at all. And yeah, like I said, just always trying to maximize every little bit of these races because I wanted this podium so bad. From starting in P12 to getting brake checked, it would be awesome to still be able to bring home a podium in this race. And yet now, as lap 22 progresses, unfortunately the cars behind are just barely in my DRS, which means they're going to be able to pull up to me with no problem. We got last year's champion behind us. We finished second in the championship behind him, and I'm really hoping to keep him behind here. Not because he was last year's champion, just because second place is better than third. And yeah, it's kind of a little heartbreaking to see Kieran pull ahead. He does kind of slow down the pace a little bit here because he knows he has the win secure, just to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes like he did under the safety car. I would have been really happy for him to make another dumb mistake, but it won't be happening here. Our race is trying to hold this position right here and keep these guys behind. I get a pretty good first sector, and I was hoping that I would be able to maybe, just maybe, break out of the DRS of the cars behind. But it's so hard to do on a track like this because it's just so much of the track at full throttle. It's just so easy to keep up with the car ahead. Not to mention the dark yellow front wing I got, which is just being a curse on me at this moment. If I didn't have this wing damage, I would still be able to be easily. I mean, Kieran might not even have passed us yet if we didn't have the wing damage. I mean, we certainly would still be in his DRS at least. then we still would be fighting for a win. But nope, that is not happening because we had to get brake checked by a reserve driver. But hey, going 12th to second, not something that we're going to complain about too much, even though it is frustrating. And at the top tier of a multi-tier league, just flat out incompetence like that just really isn't acceptable, because that didn't affect much today, but there can and will come a time where it will be affecting a championship battle, if not for me, for other people. But nonetheless, we only got 2 laps to go. While I was able to pull a little bit of a gap on that lap, I was not able to pull out the DRS, and I've already accepted the fact I'm not going to be able to pull out the DRS. I just got to keep as much ERS as possible to be able to hold him off as best as I can here on these last 2 laps, but it's going to be so difficult. I was really hoping that Kieran would slow down just enough that maybe I can get a hint of some DRS, but no, that would not be happening for us today. It's all down to us and our mangled front wing to try to hold off Danger Times for just another lap and a half. And yeah, he is definitely closer on this occasion, but he won't have enough straightaway to get us here, but he might be able to get us on the back stretch. But we get a decent run out of this corner. We're going to use some of our battery, I think. No, it looks like we're actually not going to use some of our battery, because we noticed that he got a bad run through that corner. And yes, this really now gives us a chance to be able to hold second, because that was his big chance to pull very close to me, because now I'm going to be able to hold this position down the front stretch as well. But Sector 1 is going to be where he gains on us. He has not damage, to put it lightly, and that will give him a big advantage here in this S section in the first part of this track here at Jeddah. But we are still hoping that maybe we can get another mistake out of him. We're on the last lap, and it looks like at the very least we will be able to get a podium, but will it be second? Will it be third? We only got 1 warning at this point, so a penalty is not something that we are worried about. And yeah, I still see that arrow behind us, but it doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to make a move on at least the first DRS straight after this chicane coming up here. But do we get a good run through this chicane? Yes, we get a very good run. We're going to use some of the ERS to extend the gap as much as possible, because if he could get right on my tail even on this DRS straight, he doesn't have to even come close to making the pass. If he gets close enough, then it's going to be a done deal down the next straight. And it looks like he got a pretty decent run there. Almost you can see the second proximity arrow coming up, but we're going to use all of our remaining battery. But it's such a long straight, so much DRS, he's going to be able to be on the outside. Coming into the final corner, we're going to respect the space, because I can't see if he's there or not. He is there, and yeah, he's on the medium tires and no damage. We're on the hards and damaged. As good as it is to get third when we start 12, it is heartbreaking to see how we lost the race just by getting brake checked by someone being fucking incompetent. You know, that is really... I don't know if we'll be able to fight Kieran for the win, but we definitely would have at least still been within a second of him. So we would have at least had a shot to fight for the win. And we easily would have been able to hold second as well. I mean, you can see he had softer tires and a not damaged wing, and it took to the final corner for him to get me. So yeah, like I said, frustrating to go from first to third in the way we did, but the fact we got the third in the first place, I'm still really happy with how we drove today, and hopefully we can keep the momentum.